the data in the first place. By rewarding the player, we can get consistent, high-quality data for the club. And then keeping that data stream is what feeds the dashboards and powers the AI engine, which we'll show you next. So it's a simple 3-step process. So first, when the player arrives, they have to check it in. So when they get their training, they tap their phone on an NFC tag or they scan a QR code, something nice, frictionless, easy, no apps, no login. 3 seconds and they're in. Second, they earn their rewards. So they instantly get recognition, say a digital badge for the 5th consecutive session or points added to their profile, turning this ritual into a game. And third, then they can redeem their points. So this is the key. The points aren't just virtual. They have a real world value that then the club can control. So a player could save up 100 points for a 10% discount on a new club kit, or the entire under 12 team earning a pizza party for 90% attendance in November. The clubs could each give their individual rewards for either teams hitting goals or players hitting goals. And now the AI is what uses this data we're all collecting. So it watches the attendance patterns and detects any early drop-offs. So it looks for differences in player attendance. So if someone has really high attendance and check-in message like, "Oh, we've missed you. Training's at 6 p.m. Do you fancy coming back this week?" A nice little nudge to get them back engaged with the team. And then coaches can also get nudges. So if coach isn't really paying attention, who's coming, who's going, well, 5 of players in this team haven't returned this week. Maybe go, send a little reminder, see if anything's going on, see if they need any additional help to get them re-engaged with the club. So it's AI with empathy, a digital assistant that keeps sort of the community connected together. So data and privacy is obviously a big deal, big important thing that we're trying to stick to here. So every element is designed with privacy in mind. So we anonymize any IDs, so everything is kept secure. And then we don't capture any location data without anyone's consent. It's all based on roles, so clubs will only see the data for their own club. Any partners, say FAW or something, maybe see aggregated anonymized data across regions, so they can see the impact of how things without seeing player level data. So it's all aggregated insights. No personal data is leaving the system, and we're building it with GDPR and ICO aligned from day one, giving both clubs and players confidence that that their data is safe, really. So under the hood, Julia runs on a secure, scalable stack. So the front end is built in React or Flutter for cross-platform, everything from iOS or Android and web. And then the back end is built on Node.js and Firebase. And then the integrations will have things like NFC, QR codes for the check-ins and things like that. The best part of this is 75% of this front-end tech is already developed and built by Tenant for a different project they're doing. So we're not starting from scratch. We can deploy an MVP within weeks and not months. And we'll use this hackathon to refine the AI side of things, perfect the UX, and roll out an ambitious and exciting pilot project for this. So the team is Tenant, is Aled, who is the product lead, the UX and community engagement designer, and then Dave is the technical front end and back end integration. And then there's 40 Doable on our side who will do the AI and data aspect of the project. The Cymru Football Foundation will provide with strategic pilot access to a cohort of 10 identified clubs in North Wales, allowing us to validate the data metrics against national grassroots football strategic goals and ensure maximum real world impact. and we're supported by mentors from M-SParc and data ethics and business modeling. Together, we have a creative, technical, and commercial team, and we'll really set up well to complete and deliver this project. So the financial costs. So phase 1 is the AI and machine learning refinement. So it's 3 months time to train, test, and polish off models to analyze the data, detect any trend spotting early, and things like that. And then an empathetic message engine, so to curate the different nudges that might be sent to players, giving them a real personal feel. Phase 2 would be to pilot the deployment and polish off the UX design. Phase 3 is the marketing and adoption, so targeting digital and print materials for onboarding. So 10 pilot clubs, and then getting user feedback from those to see where things can be improved, how we can sort of further refine the system. And then phase 4 would be the operational buffer and legal. So making sure we're really hitting those GDPR targets and ICO rules. So phase 1, the idea would be to have the MVP web app with the check-in method and dashboard for coaches up in the first 3 months with 2 pilot clubs. Phase 2 would be the next 4 to 9 months, adding the AI features and then onboarding further 20 plus clubs. And then phase 3, 10 to 12 months, expanding into other sports possibly, and release our API so that it could possibly share this sort of system with other people who might want to use it. So within a year, we'll have live data from thousands of players across Wales. So monetization. So we're operating a freemium subscription model. So the free tier, people will get basic attendance tracking. This is mainly for small clubs, maybe up to 50 players, just so they can see how their players are engaging and see if they can act on that. And then the premium tier would be $9.99 a month. So it's unlocking a full AI nudge engine. So it's really taking some load off larger clubs. So whether they can utilize this to keep their players engaged, sending nudges to any players that might be detected as disengaging from the club, and then future opportunities. So once we validated this system in football, sky's the limit really. So we could move out of just the football world, maybe to different sports such as rugby, athletics, netball, and then each sector faces the same participate and tracking challenge. So Kyria can provide a single scalable solution to the challenge across different sectors. So the goal is to become the digital heartbeat of community sports all across Wales. So we're ready to make this real. With your support, we'd love to talk piloting this with you and your networks. So this isn't just an idea. 75% of the system is already built. We're not here to start from scratch. We're here to finish the project. So the 50,000 allows us to tune the AI, onboard our pilot clubs, and launch the product with a low risk, high impact, and scalable solution. Kyria isn't just an app; it's a new way for clubs to build community around data. Thank you for your time, and I really hope I did that justice because I wasn't prepared to do that.
No, thank you very much, Ben. You did very well, and I can see Aled clapping away there. Considering you were put on the spot, fair play. So yeah, I'll hand over to Gwen Llian first of all for some questions.
Thanks. Well done, both Aled and Ben. It was difficult for you there with the problems with the Wi-Fi and stuff. So great effort there. Yeah, really interesting platform again. Just a couple of things really that I picked up on. Your pitch has covered a lot of the questions that I had. But looking at your growth strategy, thinking about, how are you going to fit this in, the capacity of the team now, because both companies, how are you going to build that into it, the capacity to get this up and running within, I think you said weeks rather than months, yeah?
Yeah, so do you want to take that?
Sorry, Ben. So the good news is we're bringing two skill sets together. So Tynint has a large bilingual team. So we are by default Welsh and English by default. So we treat both languages equally. So we bring that to the table. And then the good news is Ben and his team have already got the AI built. So they already have this product in market, trusted by county councils, schools. So we know by bringing, that's what I love about the hack. It's allowed us, like we wouldn't normally work with Ben and James and the team at 42able because they have their own product in the market. What I think was amazing about this hack is it allows us to bring like-minded people with aspirations to collaborate and work together. And I think with the FAW Foundation, I think, you know, when you bring all the partners together, it's actually quite an easy brief to deliver. Now, making this into a commercial business, I think will be a challenge, but I think it's a really exciting challenge.
Thank you very much. Diolch yn fawr iawn. And just one more, again, I'll pick this up. What about intellectual property? With two companies obviously involved, where's the IP going to sit? Is that with Tynint or with, are you setting up a separate company or something for it to protect it?
So that's a really interesting question, and it's a question of for the purpose of the hack, there's an understanding between the parties that if it's commercial, we will set up a commercial vehicle to move this forward into the open market.
Brilliant. Diolch. That's the end of my questions. Over to Stephen.
Yep, Stephen.
Thanks for that really thorough presentation. Thanks, Aled, and thanks for Ben. Wouldn't be a football hack without a super sub coming on at some point. So appreciate you stepping in there and filling the voice. And not a lot left to cover. As you say, you look at focusing on sort of clubs of varying sizes, monitoring their participation and checking up on sort of that sort of engagement where players drop off. So I guess it's the added intelligence behind perhaps some of the recording that's being done on a less formal basis by clubs at the moment. I was just wondering what sort of research you've done in terms of what is being used by clubs currently. I know there's a few sort of apps around my own experience. Not all of it positive. Is one in particular called Spond, which is used for like children to put whether they're attending training or attending matches. In terms of what potential there is for those sort of platforms to have this AI sort of bolted onto it in order to improve that. So in terms of looking at what else is on the market, what research have you done there?
Yeah, so Steve, I'm a coach, so I coach football for my son's team. So Spond and Comet are the two that we use as a club. You're absolutely right, they're not perfect. And we're in a situation, we're really fortunate. 42able have got this AI product that is bilingual. It would be ideal to collaborate with other apps. And I think with collaboration with the FAW, we're totally open to have these conversations. I think that's what's amazing about taking part in the hack. It's that, it's not A1, like this is our end product. We want to go on this journey, especially with M-SParc and FAW.
Brilliant, thanks for that, Aled. I can see Gwen wants to come back in there.
Yeah.
No, only once you're finished, Stephen.
Oh, that's it. No, that was it from myself. So no, thanks again for the presentation. It was really good to see.
Yeah, just one small question for me. Who pays for this? Is it the club or the player?
Sorry, my internet dropped out.
Okay. Who pays the fee?
Tail end. It's the club.
The club.
Yeah, it would be the club, but it's free for smaller clubs, and it only becomes a paid tier when they want to unlock. So it's like any good product. You get a taste of it. Of course, once you understand that it does a lot of the admin behind the scenes, £10. I think what is interesting about it is £10 too cheap? That is something that we would look at, and the data would quickly point us in that direction with growth. So as we take this to the open market, but from a confidence point of view, what is amazing is that 42A will have this product in the market and it's successful. So I think, Ben, how much is AI worth? The reality of it is it's probably worth hundreds of pounds. How much can clubs afford is, I suppose, the question.
Oh, Stephen.
There we go. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks. I was just going to come in. One of my notes that I made during the presentation about the price point was I thought that was quite low, as well, in terms of, especially if we're thinking about perhaps on a club basis rather than team basis. So if you're looking at a club that had perhaps a number of different age groups, whether there would be something depending on what their sort of usage would be of it. So if you've got a club that, say, may have several different age groups, £10 a month for the amount of data that they could access through that might be you might be able to have pitch it quite a bit of a higher price point perhaps for that.
Absolutely.
Well, let's say thank you very much then to Aled and Ben for your presentation. And we'll move on now. I'm not sure which one of you is speaking, so I'll invite Peter, Shannon, and Rhiannon from Llywodraeth for your presentation. I don't know if you want to stop sharing, Ben, as well.
Give us 1 second to share. Hello, everyone.
Can everyone hear us okay?
We can, and we can see your screen.
Brilliant.
Perfect. So we're going to talk to you about our idea for the Football Hackathon. My name is Rhiannon. I'm a PhD student at Bangor University. We're on scholarships for AI, machine learning and advanced computing, and I look at data visualization. This is Pete.
Yeah, hi, I'm a lecturer in human computer interaction at the university. We're all three based at the School of Computer Science and Engineering. And I'm here in sort of an advisory capacity for the sort of technical and some of the more data and ethics related sort of considerations that we had in the project. And we've also got Shannon, who is remote today, not feeling very well, but has come here anyway, and is wearing a football shirt, I see. So welcome, Shannon.
Got to represent the team. Hello, I'm Shannon. I'm also a PhD student at Bangor University. I'm on the same scholarship as Rhiannon with M-SParc, the advanced computing and machine learning. I'm specifically looking into sports science, AI and visualization at the moment.
Thank you. So just a quick overview of our team. We're a North Wales team. We're based already quite in the football community. I myself play football for a local team. Shannon also plays football for a local women's team. I have 4 children and 3 of them also play football in local North Wales teams. So I do think we bring that unique combination of lived experience, technical expertise and very local insight. We've lived here all our lives. So we don't just understand the problem, we've looked at the challenge and I feel like we're very involved in part of the world that we're trying to improve. So I just wanted to give an overview. So obviously we all know what the challenge is, who is attending training and matches, which demographics to participate in, how to track players, usage of patterns. We don't really want to add extra manual data capture. Whilst looking at the challenge, we've definitely realised this data gap does affect lots of different groups, including equality monitoring, funding decisions, and the growth of women's and youth football. So our proposed solution is, why make an app when an app already exists that holds all of this information? So myself, Shannon, our children, we all currently use the Cymru Football app. This already holds all the player information. We don't need to capture new data. There's nothing more required. It already exists. The FAW already pay for this app. It contains everything we need. I know from personal experience that in all the different clubs I've been involved in, that they do struggle financially, and I don't think we should ever put extra strain on them financially. I know myself, I couldn't afford to pay money for an extra app. My daughter's team, she plays for Carnarvon Academy, and she's got they're part of the first girls football team there, and they're already fundraising just so they can go and play football in Holland. So a part of the incentive is they don't need incentives. They love to play football. They all do it for that reason anyway. What we're suggesting is to use this app that already exists, no new personal data is required, and to combine it with RFID player tags. So if we can put this information onto these tags, it will just automatically scan who's coming in and out. So it already records attendance, and they cost a few pennies. The Molex one costs a few pounds, and we're suggesting you can just put these either in the sole of a football shoe, on their laces. It's something that would only ever pick up player attendance. We wouldn't be trying to pick up the crowd or anyone else or the parents. So this is also GDPR compliant because it doesn't hold any information about the children or the adults or anyone wearing it. It just contains the chip. I'm going to pass over to Shannon because she's an expert in the sensors areas. So this is how we would combine it.
So these sensors, they are LoRaWAN usage sensors. So as we're aware, in North Wales, we have horrific service. We have signal issues. In one of the pitches I play at, there's no 3G, 4G at all. I can't even make a phone call. So we were proposing to use LoRaWAN gateways to bypass these issues. And it would just be a simple gateway that we could pop in a football pitch, and then we would have 2 sensors on a gate. So every time a player walks through the gate, the sensor would ping them and take their data. You could go to the next slide, please. Okay, so as we mentioned earlier, our proposed solution are the ffrwd tags. Now, these are radio frequency identification tags, and it's a great way for players to be able to check into games and training without needing to log any details. All they do is walk past the barrier, as we can see in this video here, multiple people walking through. These sensors would only pick up the players. They wouldn't pick up anybody else. So we did look at multiple different types of sensors for these. However, the ones we specifically looked at are the ones that you can put on boots and shoelaces. So these are small, waterproof and durable. As we know, Wales, very wet, very swampy place. So we would need to make sure that these sensors are viable in bad weather. But they're passive, no battery is needed. It is simply a chip. There would be no need to change batteries or check to see if they need to be changed. They store a unique ID, and it would match the Cymru app player data in the database. So it would record the accurate attendance of the players, whether it's a game or training. And these have already been proven useful in other sports such as tennis. So it's currently something that's already available. There's already applications that have been built for these specific products. So, like I said earlier, when a player passes a reader, their tag is logged. This would then this would come from the Cymru app database. So their tag would be logged. It would tell you whether it's a training, a game. It would tell you the location and all the other information that this app already has. So there would be 0 false positives in the sense of players and players, staff, and audience. So this is a rough example of our workflow. This is how we would expect it to look. So the player walks past, the tag then sends a request to the database, it would log the attendance, and then it would send all the combined information to the front-end visuals, and this could be an app or a website. I'll pass it over to Pete for the next slide.
So yeah, we've focused on a no app solution, so to speak. We're using, as Rhiannon mentioned, data that already exists, and as Shannon's mentioned, we're using sort of a low friction sort of solution where the FAW would provide all the cost would be within the FAW. So clubs maybe would, I don't know if we would ever introduce sort of a small fee. I don't think that would be on our radar. The FAW would fund this if the FAW wants to increase the attendance, the retention, and look into the the data associated with attendance and getting people into the sport, then the cost would stay there. But on the ethics side, we looked into other sensor options that we'd heard about in the area that people were trying, and we've ruled out anything based on vision cameras due to all sorts of ethical and data issues that are associated with it. So yeah, this zero manual data capture solution really makes the data controller's job for this solution very relatively simple compared to even some of the other ideas we've heard today, where extra information, extra data is being put into potentially third-party applications. So with this, all the data remains with the FAW. It's based on data that they're already giving when they have to turn up to matches, when they have to play. As far as I'm concerned, it's compulsory that they have to use this Cymru app already. So that's where we're coming from. Also, when we're dealing with minors, if we're collecting data about young children who can't consent themselves for their data to be collected, we're avoiding all these potential issues in our solution. So we just wanted to bring that up as something. Before I do move on, I do want to say that this pitch is very much an idea, and the sorts of things we would be looking to do with your support, the mentorship, is to take this idea to the product level. We are not product designers, we are researchers. We're coming here with an idea, and yeah, we were coming at this from the data side of things. What can we do with the data we already have? What is the lowest sort of the least intrusive way of getting the data that you would need to improve the sport and improve inclusion in the sport? Anything else?
Yeah, so as Pete was saying, obviously it's really important to us. As a mother myself, I can't see not a lot of children in particular have phones to have these apps to log attendance, but luckily all this sort of stuff is already done through Comet, which is powered through the Cymru app, so we don't need to worry about that. We know where they are, what they're attending, what game, who they play for, their age. All this information is already done. So we know this is GDPR safe because it's through the FAW, it's already done. The tags don't contain personal details, only an anonymous ID. There's no images, no biometrics. It uses controlled play data, and non-players will never be recorded. So for field development, we're proposing that we would visit the North Wales pitches. Being from North Wales and playing on pretty much every pitch there, myself and Shannon already would know roughly where everyone is. I couldn't find any data on this in particular. There's no data. I couldn't find a data set when I was researching myself for exactly how many pitches there are. So this is also a good learning experience and something we should definitely collect the data on. And we would install the sensors at the entry pass or the gates. And if there's open fields, we'll find ways of being able to do that. Then connect readers to the cloud database, integrate the Cymru app data, hand the tags out, because this is what the funding is for. We would buy the tags, hand them out to the clubs, and then build the dashboards and the analytic systems for participation insights and validate the accuracy with the clubs. We've given estimated project time, so we've looked at each block represents 4 weeks. So we've looked at the planning. This is based on a team of 3 people. We've estimated realistically 18 months for planning, prep, prototyping, site visits, sensor install, cloud architecture, integrating the Cymru app information, the validation with the clubs, dashboard and build, deployment training, and contingency and buffer 20%. Thank you very much for listening to our pitch, and we hope you enjoyed it, and we'd be happy to answer any questions. Also, just want to mention that all the images and videos were all my own, mostly my own children or the club they play for, so they all had permission. Thank you.
Diolch.
Oh, thank you very much. all of you. Shall we mix it up and go to Steve first?
Yeah, no, happy to do that, and appreciate the challenges of the North Wales pitches and the availability of service there. I'm based in Mid Wales, which might even be marginally worse in terms of the available service. In terms of the actual sense of technology, this could be the stupid question with a simple answer, and that's always nice to start with one of those. In terms of the sensor picking up the device, does it need to be exposed? What I'm thinking of is if no, I can see a head shake already. I'm just aware of how much stuff will be on top of the sensor in my kid's bag as he goes through the gate.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't make a difference.
They're very clever. There's two types that we present here: a long range and sort of a mid range and a short range. So the small one that gets weaved into fabric or a product, so we can potentially weave the cheaper one into a product, has about a 6 meter range. Obviously that goes down depending on how deeply inside someone's shoe or bag it's nested. We would insist that these are attached to a shoe. That's how it works in other sports. And the long range one is a bit more bulky. It would go across the laces, and that has up to a 15 meter range. And those are very reliable because they're outside the shoe. So there's some testing to be done, but we're very confident that both of these could be, prime candidates for very, potentially different pitches could have different sensors depending on, different areas could have depending on sort of the makeup of that area.
Also, Stephen, if you want to scan the QR code, you can look into them a little bit more yourself. That takes you to the website, so you can read about them.
Really cool technology.
It is really cool.
Good question, though. We didn't really cover that.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. No, appreciate that. And I suppose the other thing from myself in terms of the, I suppose this will record the activity of those obviously registered on the sort of the Cymru Football app, so it will be for more formal rather than sort of casual participation in football. In terms of, I've got a limited understanding of the Cymru Football app at the moment, so that records details of the fixtures, but I believe some teams use other systems for training, so not all training sessions are necessarily through
it's powered by Comet, so it's powered by Comet, and on Comet every player in North Wales is legally obliged to sign up with all their information's already on Comet, so that's what it's powered by, and it logs every game that happens and all the attendance that happens within North Wales. But
the training, though, I think.
Yeah, it doesn't count training, but regardless, if a player shows up to training and they had tags on their shoes, it would still register them. But we would expect it to say, "Oh, there's no game this day, so therefore it's a training session."
Be a training, cross-referencing.
That makes sense. No, it's a really good presentation. As I say, it's an idea. It's a very good idea, and it's gives some confidence. As you say, it's been used in other, the technology's been used in other sports. So I'll get my research hat on and have a bit of look into that as well, and see how it's been used in tennis. You said perhaps most extensively today.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Brilliant. No, I'll have a look at that. But thanks for the presentation. It's really interesting.
Thank you.
Over to you, Gwynllian.
Hi, it's a great presentation. Thank you. Really interesting, and an interesting use of LoRaWAN as well as tags, because I know that they're used a lot with footfall counters and stuff all over the place on the coastal path and things as well. Just one question. You discussed first of all that you'd start off in North Wales, but if you're going to scale this project, how would you get all these tags to all of the football clubs in Wales and ensure that they're all working and set up?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think the obviously the pilot area up here would be to make sure it works in the most rural parts of the country, and then the idea would be to roll it out as part of a club membership. So potentially, as it rolls out, clubs could sign up to it.
Yeah, when they sign up for Comet, when they register as a player for Comet, they would receive a tag.
Yeah.
Okay, and would you be managing that from Bangor or from wherever you'll be based with this?
We would hope that it would be integrated into the registration process with
Okay.
comment, or with the app initially. It seems like the most streamlined way of doing it. I don't know if I don't personally know. I mean, do people receive like a letter or a membership or anything?
Yeah,
It's
you
all
get-
digital, so it could come in a welcome pack of some description. These are very, very small devices. The thinnest one is, it could be a very very, very lightweight, cheap thing to send out. And if
Okay.
they're already receiving that information, then it would be part of that. We would ideally, as I mentioned in the pitch, take all the costs away from the players and the clubs. This would be something the organisation would have to get behind if they want to use the data that this solution could potentially provide.
Okay, thank you. And again, obviously, you're based at Bangor University at the moment. What have you done as regards looking into IP ownership? Would that sit with Bangor University or yourselves?
It's negotiable. The university, if the work was done here, would almost certainly want a slice of it. However, as we are a research organisation, that is open to discussion. And if it's for community good, then it's possible that can be completely waived.
Okay. Thank you very much. And a great pitch. Thank you.
Thank you.
Diolch yn fawr.
Well, thank you very much. I'm going to pass on to our last pitch of the day. That's Paul from Coda Garden. If you want to stop sharing, sorry, Peter.
Come at this, I believe, from a different angle. I hope it's an interesting one. To us, the problem is that there are no reliable data sources other than actual ticket sales. And coming from a perspective of League of Wales clubs and Tier 2 clubs, there are a number of FAW reporting and license requirements that need better quality information. And none of these clubs are well off, but we're committed to try and focus initial efforts on supporting the League of Wales clubs and some Tier 2 clubs. The solution, we believe, to the problem is something that we've been working on for 5 years, and it's using low-cost sensors to record human activity in football grounds in order to produce a GDPR-compliant smart ground dashboard. So that's one bilingual open data dashboard that would provide data on the following key metrics. One would be attendance. The others would include age, gender ratios, home away fan mix, engagement by the club, language preferences, distance travelled, transport mode, and because we're quite fickle and shallow individuals in Coda Garden, how do we attract attention to this? How do we make people interested? We'd introduce the concept of goal quakes. There's there's a goalquake. I don't know if you know about this, but Leicester University in 2016 installed low-cost seismometers at the Leicester City ground, and the seismology of the game was able to, they were able to actually validate certain players scoring goals. And although, yes, there's 20 odd thousand fans at Leicester, our experience has shown, for instance, things like Carnarvon Food Festival, that you can pick up literally activity from 100, 200 and above people. The carrot, the thing that we believe is the way to make this something that's both commercial, exploitable and transferable across other sports, is that clubs in Wales, across Wales, have a number of quite onerous reporting requirements that they are obliged to send back to the FAW. It's not just the big guys, smaller clubs also have this, and they include the fact that they've got to show that the diversity of their engagement with the community, safety management, fan engagement, accessibility to the ground, linguistic, etc. And we can, using a very hacked version of Patron, enable this so that the system can produce reports that the clubs can then use as part of their annual licensing applications. In addition to that, we'll also be able to provide clubs with quarterly mailing list updates, so that supporters who have consented are able to be signed up. So how do we actually create this data set? So the 4 initial proposed sets of sensors would be a specific type of Wi-Fi access point, up to 4 per ground, LoRaWAN-based sounds pressure level sensors, up to 4 per ground, a Raspberry Shake seismometer, and a bilingual splash page and questionnaire. The questionnaire, we've done some research, and these are the type of questions that we feel would make our proposed solution attractive to clubs, is capturing information on the facilities, accessibility and inclusion, travel and sustainability, i.e. how did they get to the game, how far have they travelled, and metrics that we already support, such as age and gender and language preferences. The key thing here is that the questionnaire would be something that is optional. They don't have to fill this in if they don't want to, but it's there. An indication of costs, obviously with League of Wales grounds and quite a few tier 2 grounds, i.e. for instance we've talked to Talgard down in the south, is that they already have network access at the ground as part of the club infrastructure. We would work with their technical people to create what's called a VLAN, and we would then stick the access points on that, so it would be secure, physically separate, and then managed by us. So to get a ground with that sensor mix and the install costs would cost around 3.75k. The lifetime of those units would typically be around 5 years, 6 years from experience, and we're looking at an annual cost including support, processing, etc. of around £950 per annum per ground. In terms of our work, there is at this point in time, but we do want to discuss more with more clubs than just Carnarvon and Talgard, which has been the extent of discussions thus far, is it's looking to be around 26/7 rollout in terms of actually testing, getting sensors in place will be 7/3, and an important aspect then in terms of marketing, providing the incentive for other clubs to join up, will be about 3,400. We are very confident with the team around us that there would be 3 grounds built into the initial rollout, and they would all be live and fully functional by the end of this season. As I've said before, the team is the Codegard and Patron development team. That's 3 of us, and we've been working on this system now for 5 years. I'll cover in a minute just how many areas and places that the the platform already provides support for. Mark Roberts from Ymgynghoriaeth Force Consultancy would be the member of the team that would provide club liaison, and because one of their other areas of expertise is grant funding, applications, etc., we would provide support where required to clubs. And we've got a link on to work with us on installations, hardware configuration, etc. And Department of Earth Science at Leeds University are very keen. We've been working with them now for about 3 years, particularly on things like traffic volume, density, and the National ystod in Bodleian, where our seismometers were able to even pick up when the churring of the Bard started. So we know that this that the data the data sources are good. What have we done? Just to provide some background, first project was Shopio, which was a free open source local commerce platform that we set up during lockdown. Over £250,000 of food orders were placed on that application. We've also developed BOSS, which is an open data validation tool. And we also provide school transport data, but more importantly, we've been working on Patrum now for 5 years. This is where Patrum is at the moment across Wales. We're starting to move out into Conwy as well. So we'll have over 60 locations across Wales, from Ystod Gynllais all the way up to Porthamloch. Everything we're doing on the application would fulfill open data standards. We are not interested in monetizing data. We believe that in things like community sports, Welsh sport, that this information is something that should be open and visible to people. So this is what we're covering, that there is availability and access to everyone, that it can be reused and redistributed, and that there's universal participation. And it also means that people in essence could actually start to hack the data. So who are the loudest fans, which club has the most away support, etc. These kind of things, where the competitiveness is something that people can work with because the data is actually open to everyone. In terms of GDPR, we've had 5 years of going through numerous data protection impact assessments with data protection officers from a number of local authorities and other organisations, and the application and the means by which we collect, store, anonymise the data is entirely GDPR compliant. One of the things that we would have to implement at the grounds is the sticker. So here's an example of a sticker that would go up at the Oval that informs people that their device is being counted, because we're not relying on apps or people to bring sensors with them. Very sorry, but we work with something like 38,000 school children in different local authorities across Wales, and bus passes, they just get lost. So we're relying on the fact that people have their mobile phone with them, and that's what we would count. There is no need to basically to kick in and either own something or install anything. It's just the data source to us is there. Here's an example of the splash page. This is what people use to log in, and that's how we would then capture the qualitative data about age, gender, how they got there, etc. Yeah, that's me. If you've got any questions, I'm hoping I can do my best to answer. Diolch yn fawr.
Well, thank you very much, Paul, for your presentation. And we'll go straight to Stephen for any questions.
Well, thanks for that. Thanks for that presentation. That was really detailed. You touched a little bit on the sort of engagement side in terms of speaking to clubs, and there's obviously a piece of work as that kind of develops. What's your sort of what's the feedback been from the clubs that you have engaged with in terms of the potential sort of costs involved in implementation there?
The costs involved, well, I don't know if this is again about the Hac Pêl-droed funding, whether there is any capital funding in there, because part of the cost that we would anticipate is getting 3 grounds live on the system, one in North Wales, one in Mid Wales, and one in South Wales, for want of that. So in terms of the cost, any cost to a football club, any cost to anyone is too much. The catalyst for us is the fact that we are trying to provide a solution to their licensing applications. So that's the catch to us. I think we've got to look at working with the clubs for heritage lottery funding applications, because that's an area that they're already comfortable with, and it's something that we can support them with. So, and it falls neatly under the £5,000 type of limit that many grants have. It's not out of the question as well, as part of the discovery phase, to actually talk to the League of Wales, because the consistency of the data and the fact that we're not expecting people to carry things with them other than their mobile phone, or shout loudly or jump up and down when their team scores a goal. We're actually trying to tap into things that are already there, that's are there. So funding, we're looking at grant funding, and we're looking at it being viable. That's why it's £990 per annum, something that might be viable for the club to actually consider funding themselves in terms of the annual costs, primarily down to the fact that they have to do this reporting. They have to know more about their club, and they get a quarterly mailing list of people who visited their ground, who are fans. One of the incentives for people to log in could be that there's a weekly draw. So a free ticket gets sent out, because guess what? They've got their email addresses. That's a really simple thing to implement, but we've just got to understand more from talking to more than 2 or 3 clubs.
That's great. Thanks for that. That's a really thorough answer to my question. That's it from me, Aaron.
Over to you, William.
Hi, Paul. Great pitch again. Really enjoyed that one as well. And good to see what you've got there as ideas. Just a couple of questions, really. You've got quite a strong team there with Leeds Uni, Patrum, Mark Roberts, and the Dean Cyrru. What have you done? Have you got some kind of agreement in place with the IP on that?
It's ours.
It's yours, as in Cyrru.
Yeah.
Okay, that's in place, and that's agreed. Yeah. And then just one slight shorter question for you. Looking at the figures, the seismometer costs of 3,750, that'll be per club. Would that be per ground? Yeah. So there's quite a few grounds, obviously, in Wales that you'd want to put this in. Would that be covered by the clubs or by the FAW, do you think?
Well, one thing, the seismometer would not be something we recommend for smaller grounds. That's not the case. And in that case, we can have a much smaller subset. So you could very easily, at a smaller ground, have an installation cost of less than £1,000.
Okay.
Yeah. So in a smaller ground, you might only need one access point, one sound pressure level sensor. So you could talk there, and they could even install it themselves, as long as they had the right access points and the right sound pressure level sensor. Then that would be something we'd be happy to support with clubs. We've got to be flexible, but I think we're going to get a higher level of engagement and interest from the more professional clubs, because they have UEFA, etc. They've got to play in a similar ballpark to our friends in Wrexham, and yet they're organisations that might only have 2.5 full-time members of staff, if that. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much for your pitch, Paul. We are going to throw in a wild card. We have a bonus pitch to end the day. So I'd like to invite Hugh from Drovasi to pitch. If you want to stop sharing, Paul.
Thank you, Alan. I'll try and be quick. Hang on.
Oh, it might be zoomed in, I'm not sure. Yeah, that looks fine.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so our team is myself, Hugh Jones. I'm a software developer and a cybersecurity specialist. And my business partner is Dwayne Barnes, who is also a software developer and an AI specialist. Dwayne has done a lot of work for the police and law enforcement with AI models and everything. You'll also notice that we've got what we call advisors there, and these are parents that have been through the process where their children have been playing football from an early age through the whole school process and everything. And one of them is playing for the Wales under 15 at the moment. So we've had a lot of feedback about what does work, what doesn't work from them. And we've tried to integrate that into our proposal. So we've taken into consideration the requirements for the hackathon about understanding the attendance, the type of players and participants, the need to use digital technology and not having to manually capture or enter the data. And one thing that did come up from one of the advisors was that a lot of these apps are already in place at the moment, such as Comet, for handling all the data. So we were quite careful that we were not doing anything to duplicate what's in place already or duplicate the effort there. And we also got feedback about how the participants react after a game or before training and everything, and how likely they are to use things like apps for different things. So we looked at a lot of different options really, and put these forward to the advisors to see what their thoughts were. First one was, image analysis, either with a drone or a pitch side camera or something. But we didn't think it was really suitable, for low lights, darkness, privacy, that kind of thing. The next two, NFC, ffrwd, QR codes, they are quite good for doing things like check in, check out, but they do require a person to carry a card or a device with them. They require a sensor to be scanned or a QR code to be scanned. And obviously, if you've got a lot of participants arriving or leaving at the same time, you might have a queue of people wanting to scan in and out of the training session. Mobile app, I don't think you can really get away from a mobile app these days, but from the feedback we got, not a lot of players carry a phone with them into the session itself. A mobile app is okay for things like collecting feedback and everything afterwards, but during the session itself, it wasn't really the best option to choose there. So we needed to look at another technology that we could use, and the one we're proposing is Bluetooth or Bluetooth location tags. You've seen them on things like Apple AirPods and everything, for tracking small round coin sized disc or something. These can be integrated into a player's wristband or armband or even around the ankle, and they are a well-proven technology using Bluetooth. However, what's good is it does not require any interaction between the player or coach, no checking in or out. They are automatically detected, maybe from a beacon or from the coach's phone or iPad using Bluetooth. With these, we can automatically detect when players come into the vicinity of the training area, and if they're on the pitch and when they leave and everything. However, it does not answer the question of how do you get player feedback. So we would be looking at some sort of mobile app as well. mainly for use following the training session, where the players would give their feedback. Again, we've considered, gamifying or league to entice players to give feedback, because one of the things the advisors told us, the players did not really have time or, didn't really want to do that kind of thing straight after the match. So there's got to be a reason for them to do the feedback afterwards. Another thing that came to mind was they wanted the ability to have anonymous comments about the coaching session, because they felt that was an important thing to understand why a player maybe didn't come back the following week or something. And that functionality was not available in any current app on the market or being used at the moment. If using Bluetooth technology, it does also open the door to future prospects, such as tracking the movements of players on the pitch itself, understanding their performance, how much activity they do during that session as well. And all of that data and statistics can be collected via Bluetooth back into the AI engine for analysis. It would require minimal setup. You could install a Bluetooth beacon at each corner of the pitch as a removable thing on a cone or something. They could be used indoors or outdoors. There'd be no installation or fixed costs per pitch. And obviously, this technology could be expanded into other sports in the future as well. Now, all of this data obviously does raise a bit of concern. There's a lot of personal data there, sensitive data as well, as far as GDPR is concerned. And it's got to be handled, obviously, with care. We can always build dashboards and using AI for the coach, for the Football Association, and for the players themselves. And all of this without any data input, really. We could have so many automatic data collectors to generate this kind of thing. So the serious stuff, how would we come to a proof of concept and delivering the project? It's one thing, to have the idea, to have the design. It's another thing to actually deliver the whole thing as a project. Javasi Technology is accredited by the National Cybersecurity Centre, and we've actually audited public bodies for data protection and GDPR. So when it comes to data, we know what we're doing with that data, really. Mobile apps, tablets app, we are software developers, and we've developed lots of mobile apps in the past, in English and Welsh, or any language, really. We are AI experts. We've got lots of AI products on the market. So we've got the AI models in place that can be scaled and secured as required there. And we are also an IoT hardware certification body. So any sensors, hardware, beacons that are developed, they could be certified as being secure and suitable as well by ourselves there. Finally, we are aware it is a hackathon, more than a tender for a single company. So we understand there is a need to collaborate with others. What we would propose is to create a new specific company for this project, based at M-SParc, to develop the system that could grow with the project as well. And I think there's a lot of sectors and places around the UK where it could grow, not just football within Wales. We would like to invite, apprentices or work experience to be involved as well, so that other people could benefit from working as part of a company to develop a solution. From a time frame, we would be looking, to deliver an initial prototype within 3 months, with a better proof of concept within 6 months, and final refinements within 9 months, really. So I think with the backing of Javasi technology, it's not just a nice design on a screen, a piece of paper. It's a proof of concept, with proven track record for hardware, mobile apps, and data protection and everything. So thank you for the opportunity to do the pitch.
Thank you very much for your pitch, Hugh. And I'm going to throw another wild card and go, Gwenllian, you're up.
You keep doing this, Aaron. Diolch Hugh, hwnna'n yn ddiddorol iawn sut ti bod yn gweithio ar hwnna felly. A defnydd o Bluetooth hefyd. Yr un cwestiwn sgynnau, mae gen ti'r tîm yn cael ei adeiladu, ti'n edrych ar gweithio hefo cwmni eraill hefyd, so mae hynna'n bositif iawn felly. O ran hynny, dwi'n mynd i ofyn yr un cwestiwn eto o ran yr IP felly, sut mae hwnnw yn cael i ddyrannu wedyn os ydi o'r lle neu ydi o'n aros hefo Javasi neu efo'r cwmni newydd felly?
Na, efo'r cwmni newydd os yma'n aros, unig beth fysa Javasi wneud ydy rhoi'r expertise i helpu'r cwmni newydd i symud ymlaen a tyfu lle. Dwi'n cymryd mae'r cwmni newydd mae fysa ni'n ffurfio, a dwi'n dweud mae fi a dwi'n fysa bia'r cwmni, mae hynna ar agor i drafod yn bellach lle. Ond y cwmni newydd mae fysa fynd ar pethau ymlaen a bia'r IP wedyn mwy na Javasi.
Champion. A wedyn o ran y costa hefo, ti'n sôn am tabs felly hefyd i roed ar ddillad neu ar sana neu ar yr response felly. Be di costa pethau felly ar gyfer yr unigolion yn tair clwb maen nhw?
Mae costa yr tag neu'r wristband yn gallu bod mor isal at y 5 punt, felly dwi'n meddwl fysa ni'n gallu dweud efo yna. Fysa ni, dwi'n meddwl yn disgwyl i unau yr FA neu yr clwbiau dalu. Dwi'n meddwl fysa ni'n disgwyl i'r unigolion dalu lle. Sacdor nhw'n colli nhw'n rhywbeth. Ond dwi'n meddwl sy'n rhan o sôn am 5 punt per person. Diolch yn lot, dwi'n meddwl i glwb roed i fyny i dalu amdano nhw lle.
Champion. Diolch Hugh. Gret. Cyflwyno da iawn.
Over to you, Stephen.
Thanks for that. In terms of the timescale you've sort of laid out for sort of delivery, that's good, and thank you for the presentation in general. It was a pleasant surprise to hear from you today. In terms of the cost you'd be looking at in terms of delivering that sort of proof of concept, have you got that sort of mapped out at the moment?
Yeah. Roughly, obviously, if we are looking to take people on as work experience, there would be costs involved there. If we're setting up a company, there'd be costs of running that company within M-SParc as well, and obviously running costs for things like the cloud and the time taken to create the mobile apps and to purchase the hardware and develop the hardware as well. So there are costs, and we haven't done detailed analysis of how much it would cost to develop yet.
No, thanks for that. Thanks for that, Hugh. And as I think we've seen with some of the other sort of projects potentially as well. Obviously, you can see longer term that this might have some applications beyond football. So in terms of the sort of engagement piece, in terms of who you spoke to, have you had any feedback from clubs in terms of their take on this option? And we sort of probably be looking at the clubs might be the ones that are sort of bearing the cost on it. Have you had any initial discussions with any clubs to get any sort of feedback on that?
Yeah, one of the advisors, he's been coaching in the local football club here where I live as well. So the advice and feedback that's coming from him really is coming both as a parent and as a coach in that club as well, really. So we've got an understanding of both sides of the coin from a player parent perspective and from a club perspective as well. So hopefully taking all of those considerations into mind, that's how we're coming up, with the proposal we've got really there. And in terms of costs, you know, there's going to be a cost somewhere with any solution you have, really, whether it's a mobile app or any sensor or whatever. You've got to have some sort of cost, and that's got to be covered somewhere. I always believe, you know, trying to keep the end user costs down, which are the players, participants in this case, and having the club pay. And it's not a lot we're talking about if it's only maybe £5 per person, really. So we're not talking thousands, certainly for even the smaller club, you know. And it's up to them if they wanted to expand it further with additional beacons for positioning, you know, within the field itself. Those being optional extra at a future date. But the core system would only rely on the tags and a phone, which they've got already or something.
That's great. And one last question for me from the sort of the sort of technical perspective in terms of the sensor and that, anything that's worn, I suppose, is the question around sort of durability. As you say, the price point's quite low, but in terms of you know, likelihood of your frequent replacements being required, what's the durability like of that? I'm thinking if something's worn in a wristband, if there's contact and things.
Yeah, obviously you can have hardened devices there, and they could be integrated into the fabric of the wristband as well, you know, glued, sort of melted in, really. But obviously everything's got a lifetime, and being Bluetooth, you know, there's a battery required, which even though that's, you know, 18, 24 months, really. And it should be as simple as a quick replacement. What we could do is put a QR code onto that sensor as well. If it needed replacing, all the user would have to do is scan the QR code on the new tag, and it would automatically re-register for them. So there'd be no, you know, there'd be no work really to re-register a device there. We could make them as durable as possible and as easy as possible for the participants to register and replace.
That's great. Thanks for that, Hugh. No, sounds good from a continuity point of view. I'll close my mouth now because I can see Gwenllian, and you've got your hand back up again.
Yeah, sorry, I keep remembering. I've got little notes here of what else to ask as well. One thing I don't think we covered was the timescales for setting something like this up.
Yes, it's not on the PowerPoint. What I said in the end, we'd be looking at a rough prototype within 3 months.
Okay.
You know, wireframes, ideas, and prototypes. Within 6 months, we'd be looking at a basic proof of concept for trials, you know, within a couple of football clubs. And again, I think we'd be looking at the 9-month mark as well to get something ready to be scaled and deployed beyond that, really.
Okay. Great, diolch.
Thank you.
So we have been asked to open the floor by a few people, but I'll read the one question that has gone in the chat. Some of the players who are players are raising the concern that you can't wear wristbands when playing football, especially if there's something hard in them.
Okay, yeah, I'll answer that one. From our point of view, anyway, the tag itself doesn't have to be in a wristband. It could be anywhere on the ankle or integrated in the boot or laces. It doesn't have to be on a wristband. You know, that's one proof of concept I came up with there, really. So.
All right, okay. Just one of the things that I was going to say, like I've been sent up for having a hair bubble on my wrist before. Some of the referees are extremely strict, and if you're wearing a wristband, they'll think that you're concealing jewelry or a watch or something, and they will make you take them off. I wear gloves, and I've got to take them off and show the referee every match. So some of them are really strict with stuff like that. And another point that I did have to mention as well, I'm not allowed to take my phone to the pitches. I will get a fine from the club. I have to make sure that I leave it in like my bag. So I wouldn't be able to scan QR codes and stuff unless they were in the changing rooms. So I don't know if that's a thing that other people have considered as well, because some teams are super strict on it. Other teams are a bit more laxed. I think it just depends. But from a player's perspective, those are like 2 things that we really have to be careful with.
I think that was just open to the whole floor with anyone pitching. Pete, you've got your hand up.
I just wanted to just raise an issue that I feel might be an issue with some of the pitches, is that the financial aspect. The majority of clubs in North Wales don't have extra money. They couldn't afford to pay an extra £10. Just have you taken into consideration how much we already pay to register every year, how much you pay £250 to play in the academies? The kits cost over £300. So you might say, oh, it's only an extra £10, but some parents really can't afford that, and some players can't afford it either.
Paul? Or did you want to come in on that comment specifically, Stephen?
No, I was just going to say across the piece that it needs to be a consideration for us in terms of anything we support. You know, that's part of what we're looking to do is to obviously drive up participation as well as capture sort of data and insights in it. And yeah, we need to appreciate the cost burden that's already faced by people that are participating, or parents whose children are participating in the activity as well.
Yeah, I feel like there already has been, especially in, for example, women's football, there's already been a lot of barriers to stop women playing football. I just don't think it's good to then add more art or to add more barriers and more financial barriers. I think what we need to do is try and take away those any barriers that we put up. I think they need to come down and try and encourage more people to play football, encourage more kids, encourage more women to play football again. Yeah, I just think that you need to consider that there's already a financial burden, especially on parents. Thank you.
Paul?
Yeah, it was just in response to the very valid comments about wearable tokens, or tokens that people need to have with them, not just in the fact of do they bring them with them, or as people have pointed out that the referees won't allow them on the pitch. By measuring a device, the device doesn't have to be on the pitch. It can be 100 meters away from the pitch in somebody's car or in a changing room. The change in the patterns of data would enable the system to identify whether it's a training session or whether it's a game. It does not require people to have their phone with them. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Hugh?
Yeah. I'd just like to say, I think with any solution, there are ongoing costs, really. It's not a case of 50,000 and no spending afterwards. Every solution has got costs, whether that's for running AI, running cloud servers, hardware, mobile app development, everything. There's additional costs after the project as well, and that cost has got to be covered somewhere. So I think the idea that nobody's going to pay anything going forward is ridiculous. Somebody's got to pay along the line somewhere to keep.
Yeah, we're not saying that no one's going to pay, but there's already a lot of money that's going to be allocated. That money should be covering it. You shouldn't be needing extra money to then cover anything.
Okay. Any other questions or comments before we wrap up for the hackathon?
I just want to quickly point out that I understand that there's costs, and of course there's costs with everything, but those costs shouldn't be covered by the clubs or the players. When it's somebody's asking that they want to collect this data, the clubs and the players aren't asking for this. Why are they given the burden of having to finance it? I just don't think it's right.
Is that a new hand, Paul, or was that your previous hand? Sorry. No, okay, no worries. So I just want to say thank you very much for all the teams that have pitched. There were really exciting pitches all along. So just want to say thank you all very much. We'll be getting together with the results within the next week once Aled returns to work. So just once again, thank you very much. I'll stick around if there's any questions towards the end. But yes, thank you very much, everyone.
Diolch yn fawr. Thank you.
Diolch pawb.
Diolch.